This is the Straight No Chaser podcast. Today, I am your host, Zen Master, filling in for the great Hoop Jargon. Salute to Hoop J, handling his business out there like a grown man supposed to do. We are here today with two staunch, dedicated, die-hard Dallas Cowboys fans. They have strong opinions. They're not afraid to voice them. They've been caught out there a little bit this season. But given the Cowboys 1-2-1 record, that's understandable. We're going to talk about a few things today, folks. We're going to talk about last week's Packers game, the tie, the probably the best game of the week. I think most people would probably agree.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about things like Dak's potential MVP run that he's on. We're going to talk about some Cowboys trivia, Jadeveon Clowney, and we're also going to preview the Jets-Cowboys game that will be kicking off here later today. So without further ado, fellas, let's go in alphabetical order. D. Brown, your take on this week's game between the Packers and the Cowboys at Jerry World.
One of the wildest games I've seen. First of all, good morning, fellas, and good morning to those that tapped in. That Packers Cowboys game was as wild as one that I've seen, certainly in the Dak Prescott era, probably since he's been here. He's been in some exciting games. Some have gone Cowboys' way, certainly some have not. But that one in particular was very entertaining, man, and surprisingly so. I think we sat here collectively last week and we're hoping to see the Cowboys be certainly more competitive and efficient in what they did against the Bears on the flop that was that game. But with Green Bay coming in here, with their guns loaded, Green Bay's a really, really solid team. The matchup just going into that game didn't look really favorable for Dallas, right? And so as much as we wanted and for them to do well, and we even touched on things that if it fell right for them, these are the things that would have to happen. Well, the saying goes that two things can be true. Offensively, Dallas did that, led by QB1. I think one of the final moments of his 10-year career, and the defense was as advertised. It was piss poor. But that was a good old-fashioned shootout, man, by two quarterbacks who were playing an extraordinary high level, and two quarterbacks that gave their teams every opportunity to win the game and not end in that cringe tie. But it was a phenomenal game, man. Like I said, I've always positioned myself as the glass half full guy. Hated the tie, right? I'm not more a victory dude either. So all those things I hate, because at the end of the day, you still won 2-1, which is a shitty record. But what I was encouraged by was, we always hear when people we have big principals like CeeDee Lamb go out, and when those guys go down, he has some injuries in the offensive line and what have you. Then you always hear the proverbial, guys need to step up, and that was not. I don't think I've known it, JC, when it's been more evident than last week when guys, the others, if you will, stepped up, right? I thought the guys that filled in the offensive line did a really, really solid job, but which, again, a really good defensive front, obviously headlined by former Cowboy Micah Parsons. I thought they ran the ball effectively. The fact that they stuck with it was great. But man, George Pickens and Jalen Tolbert, Jake Ferguson, these guys just stepped up and made plays all game long. But it all circled around QB1, man. You're $60 million guy. And
talk to me more about Pickens, if you will, D. Brown.
Sure, man. Pickens, that was the guy more than anything, given the hype of his of making the deal for him, and the anticipation of what he would do as a complimentary piece to CeeDee Lamb, and we saw little teasers prior to the Green Bay game. We saw little teasers of how effective he can be as the deep ball threat. how effective he can be as a playmaker, a guy after the catch, all those things. He had a couple of unfortunate drops or mishandles, one of which resulted in a Dak interception the week previous. So you kind of saw a little bit of the up and down. Man, last week, I don't know how if you're a Cowboys fan, you come away from that game not really pumped about the potential of what CD and Pickens could do. I thought Pickens was phenomenal. I thought for the guys like, okay, Pickens, this is what we got you for. And when CD goes down, it's like, okay, man, you're this big time threat. And what better moment? What better meet the moment, if you will, him coming about. And I mean, he stepped up. I think stepping up is underselling it. I think he balled out.
Have you seen any hints? I'm a Steelers fan, so I know Pickens
Sure,
a little bit.
Sure.
Have you seen any hints of the attitude problem thus far?
Man, not really. And you kind of knowing that history, knowing the league wide fans that we are, you're kind of sitting there because those things did happen and it was an issue in Pittsburgh, and so there's subjective evidence that justifies the concern. So you're sitting there hoping, at least I am, you're sitting there hoping that, hey man, make the play. If it doesn't go your way, just go back to the huddle. Like, don't do anything crazy. And it really hasn't yet. The crash out moment, if you will, has not happened yet. But man, the playmaking ability, you just kind of salivate over, man. And for him to step up, particularly as the game got really crazy there in the second half, he's going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
And to see Dak, this is kind of where I landed here as far as that part of it goes. To see Dak, really just moved him like, okay, this is a play. Dallas needs to play, and Dak needs to go to Pickens, and that's exactly where he went, and Pickens made the play. And as simplistic as it sounds, guys that you can count on in those must-have situations, you come up and make a play, that's big time. We talked about his potential, but now to start to see, hopefully, it's one game sample, but hopefully now when CD comes back, hopefully this makes Dallas even more, like just a little bit more lethal in the passing game, because they're going to need it. Dallas is going to have to score points. And I mean, that's the reality of the situation. And to see that that chemistry, if you will, and that trust from Dak to Pickens really evolve and come to the forefront in that game, in a game they really needed it to happen, was pretty damn encouraging to see. Still loving Javonte Williams and how hard that guy runs. It's just an amazing deal, man. So as stoked as I am about the offensive potential of the CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens combo, mix that in with the run game that Shotty's is really been impressive in my mind, committing to with Javonte Williams, mixing in, which we talked about pregame, Jake Ferguson, I thought, who also had a terrific game. They're going to need it, because on the other side of that, it it looks like Armageddon defensively. So, JC, with that, I'll land the plane on what I saw from Green Bay, Dallas last week.
Yeah, Joey, and if you could weigh in on Pickens yourself as well, as part of your recap, I'm curious to know how you guys feel about him.
Get a little OJ in me.
Go ahead, man. Do what you got to do. I'm sitting here crumbling.
Hey, so listen, here's the thing, man, with Pickens. Pickens hasn't had this type of quality at quarterback since Mason Rudolph.
Oh, gut punch.
Hey, at least Mason was smart enough to drop back and throw it to him. When he marked out Chidi Awuzie for like 8 for 304 scores or whatever the hell it was, something that was insane. But really, that really is the fact of the matter. He has not had this type of quarterback play. When you see the type of performance that he put up the other night, last week rather, you just see, man, having a quality quarterback helps. Quarterback that will go to him, consistently. And I've noticed they've moved him around a little bit in motion, but they've kind of left him at the X, that backside position. And he did some big time damage with that. And really, again, It's the play of Dak Prescott. And the offensive line is definitely doing their part, as banged up as they are. You got to be committed to it. You need to block it, and the runner needs to hit the hole. It's elementary, man. And Javonte Williams is running really hard right now. Miles Sanders may have a little bit of juice after all. We'll see the debut of Jaden Blue today, something that everybody's been waiting on, as he's finally learned the intricacies of the playbook and been activated for the game. But
Joey,
again, it's all about
pause. I got to pause you for a
Prescott.
second, Joey. I got to pause you for a second on the running game. Do you think that the running game got that much better overnight, or do you think that the Packers being a poor run defense was probably more the factor?
I think the running game's been pretty consistent, and the difference has been up front. It's been both. Like I was saying, it's been both. It's been up front. They've been a little bit better up front. And Williams he's a lot better. I'm sorry, he's a lot better of a running back than Rico Dowdle. There's a big difference between those two. Williams runs with a lot of power. All right, with a lot of power, and he runs angry. Okay. And again, I always like to say, EAE, everything affects everything. And, back to our guy, Dak Prescott, got to watch that Prescott. Got to watch that Prescott. That's what they say about him in Mississippi State. Got to keep an eye on that Prescott. The guy takes so much crap, and he's basically lying hard. Okay? Mm-hmm. He probably won't live to see us defeat the hated English. But much like Wallace, his legacy will live on. Boy,
nice.
I mean, he's freaking heroic.
Yeah.
He gets drafted in 2016, and it's just straight love. It's just a love fest. I'm like, man, this is great. And again, you have lowered expectations as a rookie. And so you go through the growth process with this guy. Stumbles a little bit in 2017, but Goodell took away his run game for 6 games, with absolutely no evidence of any wrongdoing. He just felt like doing it. But anyway, then you see him get better in 18, levels off in 19, gets injured in 20, and then starts to string together some really good seasons, regular seasons anyway, and going 12-5. 3 years in a row. The guy is heroic. It's not, and here's the thing. What's always kind of been the issue with him is really the inconsistent accuracy. Man, like there's times he throws that takeoff route as good as you can throw it, right? Between the numbers, going forward, deep ball. There's times he puts that thing and puts it right there and you can't throw it any better. And there's times he misses. He has been a lot more accurate this year. And it's not just his chemistry with CeeDee Lamb, which that's evident every time they link up. He's been more accurate in general. And every now and then, in the right times, which with age comes wisdom, he's running it, where he needs to. Not that much, but when it's necessary, the QB draw, things of that nature. Shaking off sacks. He looked like Romo used to. Romo used to do that left shoulder inside out spin and even fake his team out. Right.
Look, we're gonna talk a lot more about Dak. We're gonna talk a little bit stronger than Romo,
and he's worming away from stuff and extending plays as well, man. And as far as him for the MVP.
Well, let's hold on. Let's hold on to that, Joey. Let's hold on to that. We haven't gotten your recap from the Packers, man. We haven't got
that one was insane. The Packer game was insane. Apparently, every game at AT&T will now be in the 30s to 40s and go to overtime and go the entire overtime, back to back. They played the entire overtime.
How do you feel as a Cowboys fan? You hung with the team that everybody is thinking is going to win the NFC. Personally, I say Detroit, but you hung with that team that's supposed to be number 1 in the NFC, buck by buck. However, your defense is porous. What about that defense, and how did that play out in the Packers game, Joey?
And so, when your defense is that bad, you have a sub 500 record. It doesn't matter how good your offense is. You are what your record says you are. They had bust from jump. First play, slot bust. It's like, man, and it's 13-0. And I didn't predict it, but I was like, what if they blocked the extra point here and ran it back? I didn't predict it. I was just thinking about it. You think of all the scenarios that can happen when you watch football and you think of what's best for your team. Well, the best thing for the team on the extra point would have been them blocking it and running it back. And lo and behold, I look up, and there's brother Marquise Bell, streaking down the sideline in the full 4.7 speed of his, taking it to the house and getting a deuce. And that seems like a small thing, but it was actually a pretty big thing. You saw how they played after that. Once they got back in the game and entrenched themselves in the game and discovered, that, hey, Pickens has got a mouse in the house. The kid on the right can't hold Pickens. Get it to him. He can't do nothing without it being in his hands anyway. And Ferguson came through, and Turpin came through, the run game came through. It was a total team effort, offensively and defensively. They made a few plays, but not enough.
What do you see as the main problem on
it's a glass half empty guy, as DB knows. I was irritated, but hell, honestly, man, I didn't know how to feel.
JC, what do you see as the biggest problem on defense for that team?
That's only the second tie of my lifetime. And the first one was in November of '69 when I was just a tiny JC, a baby. So I didn't get to see that one. It may have been on in the house where I was at, probably was, but I didn't know what it was. So this was really crazy. I've seen ties before to experience watching one, and I'll land a plane like this. There was talk about, well, how does that, how can that possibly affect you? 2008, the Philadelphia Eagles had a tie against Cincinnati. Now, the controversy is that McNabb didn't understand the overtime rule.
Shit, he said controversy.
They ended up qualifying for the playoffs last game of the season against the Dallas Cowboys because of that tie. So there's that to take from it. It was just wild. That's all I can say, man. It was wild. It was wild. That was a wild game.
Well, didn't it mostly explode in the second half? I think I tuned in primarily in the second half.
Yeah.
It just went crazy, man. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. But I haven't seen an overtime game in the NFL personally until that game, and I was kind of shocked when it ended. Like, that's it? It's over?
Right.
I just watched an overtime game between Penn State and Oregon the week before. That was thrilling as hell. They started on the 25. Each team has 3 attempts to score until somebody gets stopped. That was exciting as hell. But to end after one drive, I think the NFL needs to look at what college football is doing. I just don't like ties.
No, I agree with you, Zen. If I could, can I circle back to the question you put forward at the end of Joey's take about the defense, the defensive part of it. The thing that's the 1-2-1 record means that the disappointment in that is that you had an offense that played and a quarterback and an offense that played extraordinarily well, right? And you had a defense that was extraordinarily bad, particularly the pass defense. And because the run defense is serviceable, I guess is the best word I can put forward. They're in the front seven. They're actually, the front seven. They're actually really not. They're pretty. I would stop just sort of saying solid, but it's serviceable. But where and you asked the question, where is it that's the biggest deal? And it is a consistency of pressure, which JC talked about quite a bit last week. Sacks are the sexy stat, but consistent pressure, hurrying guys to make uncomfortable throws or inaccurate throws.
Missing Parsons.
They're missing Parsons.
Somebody filed a missing Parsons report.
Right. Nice. But hey. Yeah, I had to get you on that one, man. That was nice. But it's the inconsistency of pressure Houston was brought up. I think, and there was some flashes in that we saw last week that I think they need to move forward to with what they have, right, going forward. I think Houston certainly there was a lot of local press about that. Houston needs to see more burn. We talked about that in our
It was
show
a massive play. Massive.
Yeah. Houston needs to see more burn. Ezaraku needs to see more burn. You know, that they need to turn those young guys loose because one, they're capable of making plays. I think they get more comfortable as they're used to being on the field, and establish some level of consistency. But right now, through these 4 games, I think the reason that you've had these really, really good offensive games, from that, the Bears game was kind of meh after the fumble. They never really got, going again after that. It just kind of took the wind out of the sails. But 3 of those 4 games, that offense has been really good. And we thought it would be. There was a lot of questions, more so defensively, and those questions have been answered due to the fact that they've not had consistent pressure. They've actually gotten a few sacks, but they've not had that consistent pressure, and they don't have that. And what exacerbates the whole thing is they're horrible in the back end. If you're not going to get pressure or consistent pressure and let guys, double tap, maybe even triple tap the ball while surveying the field, that group in the scheme that they're in, I don't think they have the personnel that fits the scheme that they're playing. And it just all adds up to them being absolutely horrific in the back end. So there's your biggest problem right there, man, is they're not getting consistent pressure. I think that pressure can amp up if you play the young guys that we're talking about. Houston and Ezaraku definitely need to see more burn. I love what they've gotten. They've actually gotten really solid play, which we haven't had said here in Dallas in a damn long time, up the middle, right? The defensive tackle spot is making plays like we haven't seen, I would say, in at least 5, maybe 7 years. It's been really good.
Who's that player down there?
I'm sorry?
Who's the player that you're signing at DT?
Oh,
Clark.
Clark, the guy we traded for. Man, Clark has
there was even a Mozzie sighting.
Yeah, there was a Mozzie sighting. That was crazy.
He had a big leg.
Man, Clark has been everything is advertised, man. I mean, he plays with that ferocity.
Clark is that dude, man.
Yeah, there was a clip that that actually showed, and it was just it's cool how instinctive it was, where Clark does what he does, gets penetration on a run play, blows it up, and Jadeveon Clowney plays off of him. He's playing the left side, plays off of him, spins out, sets the edge, and they make a play, behind the line of scrimmage. And when it started, I looked, I was going to be blocked up pretty well, but you just had 2 guys playing at a high level. But that started with the pressure in that run game from Clark that we've not seen, disruptive pressure that we've not seen, JC, probably since, help me out on this, Jay Ratliff.
They made some plays defensively, believe it or not.
But it's that back end, man.
They made a few. At the end of the first half, they kind of flurried a little bit, with the Houston thing, and they kind of flurried a little bit, and they made some plays. And they were, as you said, solid against the run game.
Yeah, so that I think if they can somehow then shore up, because here's my final point on that.
Mm-hmm.
Here was the disappointment the subjectivity of the disappointment for me with the tie. Your quarterback goes out and has 3 straight drives, especially the one late, right? Yeah. I mean, it's the classic, this is what you pay your big time money quarterback to do. It's less than 2 minutes. They've got either 1 or no timeouts, and you go length of the field, and there's like a minute 54, I believe it was, and they go down and score in a minute 8. I mean, length of the field.
They got it to a rhythm.
That's what you pay your guy to do. Yeah. And so now your defense, and then they get the gift because of a well-placed kick by your big-time kicker and Brandon Aubrey. Now they got to start from the 20-yard line. So you got 80 yards, 40-some-odd, like 48 seconds. You're expecting your defense to make a play to get out of that game with what would have been a big-time win. And they can't do it. Not they don't do it. They can't do it. And that's the ass kicker right there. It's like, man, just make one play. So if they can somehow, because like I said last week, coaches get big checks too. If they can somehow, with some sleepless nights or some 3 or 4 hour graveyard shift type meetings or what have you, if they can somehow figure out to get some level of consistency with quarterback pressure, that has to be there to help that back end. If they don't, then the next. Because of that, because of the hole that you've put yourself in, you lost a winnable game because of this in Philly in the opener. You certainly laid an egg in the if it wasn't for your quarterback's heroics in the Giants game, you losing that one. You laid an egg in the Bears game, and if it wasn't for your quarterback's heroics, you somehow scratch your way to a tie. That's why you won 2-1, because of what we're talking about. But if they don't get this figured out, this is what makes, which I know we're going to talk about here in a minute, how huge these next 2 games that Dallas is playing. They have to win these games. They have to win these games, because we talk about it in this show for years. You got to bank these wins where you can get them week in, week out, however the game plays out. If you have an opportunity to win the game, because I shot in the chat, Zen, this is where I landed. Man, if they don't bank some wins here, going into, I got the date circle.
Bye week.
Yeah, well, not even so much that. November 23rd to Christmas, I've looked at Dallas' schedule.
Murder.
They can't go into this deal in a 1-2-1, 1-2-1 type of vibe. They've got to be plus on that ledger, because from November 23rd to Christmas Day, they play 6 games in that calendar month and 2 days. 6 games against some absolute heat as far as the schedule is concerned. So they've got to, because you've spit the bit through logic to your defense, and now, like JC said, you are what your record says you are. You won 2-1. Now all of a sudden, think about this. You're having to get a must-win today, banged up as hell, against a winless Jets team. Because if not, then this season gets real funky almost immediately if you drop this one. So they've got to figure out where to short some quarterback pressure, or it's going to be a problem.
Folks, he ain't lying. As we take a quick look here
at
the Cowboys schedule. Today you have the New York Jets. I'm going to go ahead and zoom up just a little bit. New York Jets at New York this week. That should be a win, but they're 0-4. Their backs are against the wall. They're a little desperate. I'm going to put us all up here in the corner here in just a sec. Carolina, the Panthers. Their quarterback is terrible. All right, we all know they got a bad quarterback situation down there. Should be an easy win. I don't know why that's $156. I guess just because it's the Cowboys, but good grief.
Yeah.
That's a pricey ticket.
Cowboys
Carolina. Okay, then you had versus Washington at home. I'm sorry, this is at home versus Washington. Tickets are cheap, man. If you're in the area, $30 is the lowest ticket for Jerry World to go see DC. Now, I think Jaden Daniels is hurt, and that's probably why those tickets are so cheap right now. After that, you got Denver. You can probably count on that being a war. Arizona, nobody's afraid of them. Then you got a bye week. Las Vegas, 50-50. Then you got Murderers Row. Then you got Philadelphia, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, the Chargers, DC again, and then the Giants to end the season. So, yeah, you definitely got to win at New York and Carolina. I'd say Arizona is probably a must-win, and Las Vegas is probably a must-win as well.
And you're going to have to win a game that you're not expected to win in that stretch before you get to basically Thanksgiving week.
Now, versus Philly at home is going to be super exciting, of
Massive.
course. That's really going to be amped up. You guys lost to Philly in week 1, 24-20. Good, tight, close game. I mean, it wasn't a beatdown. So I think Dallas is in it, man. They just got to
game.
Right
I
to
mean,
wrong.
you look at that, the Sanders bump, difference in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the scoring play. He gets knocked down and then fumbles, 2 plays later? I mean, and as the way that game ebbed and flowed, you look at that, and I remember JC just, there was a wringing of hands and gnashing of teeth afterwards. And the more I've thought about it, he's right. I mean, it kicks you in the ass looking at, because that's one of the ones. That's one of the ones where you look at this schedule, you kind of look at the uncertainties of this team, and you're like, there's going to be some instances in there where you got to get a game that you're not necessarily expected to win. And that one was actually week 1, right? That was a game that Dallas could get and should have gotten, in all honesty, and get away from him. And then you lay an egg against a Bears team that you were expected to beat. And then you have just the 2 wild overtime affairs thus far with the Giants and the Packers. So all of a sudden, and this is what I love about the NFL seasons, year in and year out. Every week contributes. There's just a different storyline. It's like watching a good series on Netflix, right? Where you get a character, or you get some injection into the storyline, and then you just kind of get the unexpected twist and turn and what have you. And this is what happens over the 17-week season in the NFL. It's like, who would have thought when the season started, that going into week 5 on the road against a Jets team, that all of a sudden you're attaching must win to that game, right? But that's how these NFL seasons go. That's what makes it, for me, fun as hell as a fan to watch, because it's the twists, it's the turns, it's the unexpected, the ebbs and flows. You jumping up and down, and you're going nuts, and then be like, God damn it, I can't believe that. In the every next minute. So but this is where we are, man. I mean, you won 2-1, and you got to get this one, because again, you can't go in that
be
thing.
7-5-1 after 13 to me.
100%.
Yeah, you need to be in the conversation. 7-5-1 after 13 games to me to have a shot.
And it starts today at noon Central.
It starts with that defense, I believe. If they can get some plays,
the adjustment has to be made there.
Yeah,
I think Dallas has certainly shown enough to justify what we thought would be a good offensive football team. Mm-hmm. When Pickens came in, to JC's point, Javonte Williams has been an unbelievably pleasant surprise. Man, the way he runs, like, I think angry is a perfect descriptor. The way he finishes runs after contact, I think I stated last week's show that Dallas is leading the league in yards. After contact, Javonte Williams has a ton to do with that. Mm-hmm. And just the physicality with which he runs has been great. So I think Dallas is an established entity. There's a lot fewer questions now going into week 5 offensively about this team, but it really hinges on if, and that is a massive 96 font italicized if Dallas can somehow find a level of consistency to get pressure on the quarterback, because that's how they're going to have to win games. And teams know that, and until they do something about it, teams are going to scheme up to, let it rip. They're not getting pressure, and until Dallas actually starts to do something about it, and so that's where the line of the sand now has drawn, in my opinion. Now that we're in week 5 of the season,
some of those teams are going to have deficiencies on that side of the ball too that you're going to be able to exploit. So before we move on to the future, let's talk about what could be potentially an MVP season for Dak Prescott. And I want to go back to Joey for this. Joey, Dak is putting up numbers. I asked ChatGPT, and I'll share with you guys real quick here. I asked ChatGPT if he has a case. And ChatGPT says, short answer is yeah, but he's got a floor. He's got to floor it, pardon me. Top tier efficiency and volume through week 4. Dak's at 1,119 yards for second in the NFL with a 74.3 QBR, which is the 4th ranked in the NFL. So he's, according to statistics at this point, in the top, 20th percentile of quarterbacks in the league. The offense is cooking. The books are giving him a plus 3,500 chance with a range from plus 3,000 to plus 6,000. So he's in it. Not a favorite, but in it in terms of the Vegas odds. What's in the way? Team record. Counting stats lag. So yardage is loud, but 6 touchdowns to 3 picks through 4 games isn't exactly setting that part of the field on fire. Of course, when you got a kicker like you guys do, you're going to take more 3-point attempts as well. And a crowded field. Burrows Joe Burrow, who's out with turf toe, Mahomes, Allen, Lawrence, and now you got Justin Herbert out in L.A. also setting the world on fire. So,
Oh yeah.
Again, back to Joey. Joey, what's your thoughts on Prescott's chances of actually, first and foremost, getting, the offense is on track, so we don't have to worry about that. But in terms of him getting that MVP shot, how do you feel about that?
Team needs to go 10-6-1. He needs to throw for more than 5,000 yards, more than 30 touchdowns, less than 10 picks. That's the only way he's going to have a shot. Sentimental favorite, and with the way they've been playing, is going to be Allen. That's what's going to be so hard for him to overcome. I mean, plus, you got Jackson missing some time. Mahomes is always a candidate. Herbert puts up massive numbers and is dazzling to the eye to watch. That's what would have to happen. They need to, in that stretch that we talked about, they need to win these next 3 and then come out of that 6-game stretch that starts with Denver and go 3-3 in that. Go 3-3 in that. Minnesota, you don't know what they're going to be. They've got some issues at QB. You feel pretty good about everybody else on that thing, man, as far as the Lions and KC and Philadelphia. So you go 3-3 in that. Again, we always talk about breaking the season into segments. And then you go 3-1 to finish out, puts you at 10-6-1, and I believe that'll get you in. I believe 10-6-1 will get you in. You'll very likely be, the 7th seed. Mm-hmm. But hey, you just want to get in, man. You just want to get into the tournament, as Parcells used to say. And if they go 10-6-1, it will be because Dak absolutely clowns, and the defense finds a way to get a little bit better. There is help on the way, in terms of picked up Clowney. You got Bland back. You're eventually going to get Ravel, the rookie. Now, here's the thing. These cats are we talked about the secondary. Man, I can give you 4 cats right off the top. They're top 4 corners, essentially. If you throw Ravel in that mix, they're all man guys. Mm-hmm. Every one of them is a man guy. Mm-hmm. Elam, man guy. Bland, man guy, particularly in the slot. Diggs, man guy. Mm-hmm. Ravel, known for being a long, outstanding man coverage corner. They've got to figure that out. They got to get out of that damn zone. The way offenses are designed now, and the offense that I ran, in college all those years ago, man, is you come out in man, and we're going to run combos on your ass, and we're going to get you out of man because the bulk of our offense is designed to attack a zone defense, okay? And that's where the accuracy of your quarterback comes in. Now, the thing about the NFL is that they mix coverages, okay? Mm-hmm. Zone front side, man backside, or flip it. Zone shallow, man, man shallow, zone high. And that's what kind of throws QBs off. Yeah. The Cowboy DBs are having difficulty adjusting to the scheme. They're just having a lot of they're having a lot of difficulty adjusting to it. They've got to get some more man in there. If Eberflus wants to be stubborn, I mean, come on, man. You're going to have to mix in some more man, this, especially shallow. That's what these guys do, because it's a lot easier to tell a DB, hey, man, this is your man. This is your guy. For instance, Sauce Gardner is going to travel today. He'll be traveling today, i.e. he'll be on Pickens. Now, he's done okay against Pickens, but, hey, Pickens has gotten his against Sauce. That has happened. Big games. He's had a couple big games against Sauce. That's going to be a great battle to check out. Again, Dak is playing so well, and the offense has got a semblance of a run game. They're sticking with the run game, which is very, very encouraging, just staying with it. And it has been a little more fruitful because, as I said, Williams is just a better running back than Dowdell was. He's just a different runner, better. He's got rocks in his pockets. You can use this guy as a hammer. Add blue to that. That's going to help. We feel pretty good about the offense, even with all of the injuries. You got no Kevontae Turpin today. I don't know if Mingo's has been activated or not, but they're short in that room. No CD, no Turpin. So, but we still feel pretty good about the offense. Now you look at, the injuries on defense. Malik Hooker's out. He's an average to above average safety, but again, you're putting somebody that can't beat him out in. So, you got to think logically in terms of that. They've just got to make some changes. And hopefully Clowney will add some juice, some much needed juice, because we're finding out that it doesn't look like Williams is going to turn the corner. And we're finding out that Nealon is a solid rotational player.
Yep.
That's what he is. Both defensive end spots are wide ass open next year for new starters, real starters. Because Donovan, I always butcher his last name, Azaraku, he's a situational guy. I knew that when they drafted him. Okay. He's a tiny, tiny man. Now, if he walked in here, he'd be a big son bitch. But he is a tiny edge rusher. So that means situational. Cool. He's got his role, no problem. They're going to be looking to upgrade that defensive end position next year, big time, with a brand new starter with one of their first round picks.
You need another one of us PA boys.
As for the rest of this year and going forward today, when you look at the Jets and that moribund franchise, there's a great word. I know the members of the panel.
They are shit.
That's the context I'm using it in. It means bad.
Moribund.
Right?
Yes.
And it's they've been very good against Fields. I will say that. The time that they've really flustered him. Last year, they didn't have Micah in that game in Pittsburgh. And they still flustered his ass. And I thought that was the difference.
Before we move forward, Joey, slow down, Joey. Slow down, Joey. Before we move forward into today's game, Joey was on a roll. We need some orange cones or some shit like the airport to. Before we move on. And we are going to move on immediately. But first, we don't want to miss the Lucky Whitehead Award, right? Yeah. As we end our Week 4 recap, I want to make sure you guys are able to make your picks for the Lucky Whitehead Award. So without further ado, let's run that Lucky Whitehead graphic.
I love it.
And now back to the experts. Joey,
this
past week.
An obvious choice for the Lucky Whitehead Award is probably the guy who most epitomizes that. I'll go with Turpin. He just chips in. He's just constantly chipping in, and he is the quote-unquote gadget player. See, I had a hard time conceiving what the award actually meant and the true spirit of it. But after hearing it explained so eloquently last week, it is a gadget player who chips in occasionally with a good play. So I'm going to go with the obvious choice. I'm going to go with Turpin. Like I said, he always chips in. It's going to be tough not having him today.
D. Brown.
Nice. Man, it's hard not to move off Turpin. I thought his contributions over and above, what you expect him to do, or just you want him to do which kind of gets hampered in the return game. But he made some really, really solid plays when the team needed them, right? I mean, they needed all hands on deck. So I was kind of vacillating between him and Jalen Tolbert. But actually, I'll go with Tolbert just to switch things up and not be so uniform. I thought Tolbert was a guy that you just didn't know if he would contribute at all, because Tolbert's had moments like, oh, well, that's a nice play, and then he gets reps, contributes nothing, but he made a couple of really, really big plays in the game. I thought he was going to contribute to be the a setup for the game winner when he caught the deep ball on the scramble, which is a hell of a play from Dak, and he comes back and gets that ball, gets the feet in, makes the huge catch there in overtime. And I was thinking that was a play, so I'll go with Jalen Tolbert on this one because he made a couple of plays in the game that was pretty strong.
Marquise Bell, runner-up. Brother Marquise. Marquise Bell is the runner-up, man. Running back that EP.
So this week's Lucky Whitehead Award winners are Kavontae Turpin from JC. And I'm sorry, what was the young man's name once more?
Jalen Tolbert.
Marquise Bell.
From D. Brown. Honorable mention, Marquise Bell by JC. D. Brown, you got an honorable mention?
No, it probably would have been, yeah, because that block 2-pointer was definitely qualified. So we'll be uniform on that one. Yep.
All right. Fuck them kids, D Brown says.
Absolutely.
Brother Marchese.
All right, fellas. Today, in 1 hour and 3 minutes, your Dallas Cowboys will be kicking off in New Jersey versus the New York Jets. I still don't understand why New York doesn't have a stadium, but okay. How are we feeling about these chances against the 0-4 Jets with Justin Fields playing some pedestrian quarterback play up there in New York? Go for it, D Brown. How you feel about today's game?
Weird. Talking about it with Joey pre-show. Weird because literally just saw the scroll just come up. Dallas is down 4 starting offensive linemen. If they're walking in with their O-line the way QB1's been playing, I'm feeling good about it. This is going to be a weird game. This is going to be
the whole O-line is out.
They're down 4 starting offensive linemen going into this game.
Oh, man.
So that
y'all might get beat.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. Let's be clear. When I say weird, I'm thinking of the debacle in 2019. Same scenario, winless, and I memean Dallas was going in a much heavier favorite in that game than they are today. I think they're barely
the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it was. Yep, absolutely. And of Jason Garrett, right? Yep. And that was they go up there, and when I tell you, they laid an egg in the last time they visited. It was one of the worst games, I think, ironically enough, from Dak Prescott himself. But the whole team was ass, and they go up there and get wholly embarrassed. And that was JC would correct me if I'm wrong. Sam Darnold damn near careered in that deal, and that was the one where you had the gap.
Garrett Wilson was still there.
Yeah, they had the gap.
He caught the 90-yard.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're trying to go for 2 to tie the game, if I'm not mistaken, or to win it. There at the end, that goes sideways. It was a hugely embarrassing game. On a game they should win. This one has a big feel like that just because of everything going on, man. There's just no way to say, oh man, it doesn't matter. We're gonna go in there and whoop their ass when you're down 4 starting offensive linemen, who've actually been really good.
That matters a lot.
For the most part. It matters a lot. So, and then combined with the fact, because what's been the unfortunate consistent theme on the other side of the ball, y'all, as far as the matchup goes. Matter of fact, I took that heat for saying that Russell Wilson was washed. It was a week early, but Russell Wilson goes out and it goes out damn near as a career game, right? Took some heat for that. I stood on it, but it was deserved heat nonetheless. Caleb Williams goes off, right? Jordan Love goes off, right? The only guy that really didn't go off against that secondary, ironically enough, was your reigning Super Bowl MVP and Jalen Hurts. Everybody else has gone the fuck off. I think
Hurts didn't have to.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, he
didn't have to in that
run the football. But in terms of just airing it out, and it's just one of those funky feels, guys. That here we go. I mean, it's all set up. And I don't, I don't believe in excuses. I don't believe in they didn't have the guys. I mean, the one of the few things I was really, really on board of the Jason Garrett isms was, man, you're on the team. So if we're paying you and you have a uniform and you suit up, when you're called upon, we're expecting you to contribute. That's why you're here. So whoever they're lining up to go out and play in today's game against these hapless Jets, the expectation is because you have to perform. Again, that's why you're putting on the jersey. That's why you're wearing the pads. You got to do what you got to do. But this is a really weird feeling, looking matchup just because of all of the weirdness and injuries and, just what that defense has been. And I'm hoping I'm creating some type of juju where, some guy careers in the defensive backfield and has 2-3 picks, runs 2 back, to the house, something to that effect. I don't expect that, but this is a really weird game. And again, because the fan in me is nervous just because, again, man, it's a losable game and a game that the Cowboys can ill afford to lose. And I'll land it right there.
I got to say that was fire, D.
At
Brown.
least 3 of the 4 guys that are going to be starting on the O-line have experience. Hoffman and Bash, they've logged considerable minutes for the Cowboys before. And Thomas, when he stepped in for Guyton, was actually pretty damn good. Hopefully, they got Smith listed as questionable. They're going to work him out before the game, and they're going to see. So he's a tough kid. He doesn't miss time. Hopefully he'll be able to go. And you know what they say: if you're playing hurt, you're considered 100%. I don't want to hear shit. Well, he was banged up when we played. That's not how it works. So if he plays, he'll be good to go, and he'll be the guy that he's always been: the best offensive lineman on the team, the best guard in the NFL. Period. Now they're going to bring this kid in. I forget, he has an African last name, starts with an E. I forgot the kid's name. We're talking about him in the pregame today. And he's going to have to play right guard, something that he's not really experienced in doing. That worries you a little bit. But Hoffman and Bass are both experienced guys. Bass is a pretty solid player, and then Hoffman's a rat bastard. He'll fight you. You know what I mean? He's a Kevin Gogan type, Certainly not of that ability and size, but, he's a nasty bastard, and you need that out of your old lineman. You need cats like that. And so that's going to be tough. But again, the pervasive feeling is that we can muddle through that offensively, get a little more out of the tight ends. We've always talked about 21 personnel, 2 tights, and doing this to help the offensive line in run and pass situations. Think you'll see a little bit of that as a shorthanded at receiver. But it's the defense again that worries us. Wilson is a good player. Make no mistake about it, man. The kid can play. He is a burner. He scares you. Not much else. Breece Hall is a solid player, oftentimes rumored to be a trade target of the Cowboys. But it's that defense that worries you, that defense that is so good that worries you, and that, this one is going to be really, really difficult. This is a classic. Cowboys are the better team and should win, kind of like a couple of weeks ago. And they go out and lay an egg. Hopefully that's not the case, and it's got to be tough on those New York fans up there, man, with the Jets being terrible and the Giants not being that good recently either. And I would say I feel sorry for them, but you know what? F them. Who cares, right? It's your time to suffer. All right, believe me, we've suffered here too. So I just really worry about the do factor as well. About the Jets being an NFL team, being at home, Cowboys having to travel, overtime game, everything stacked against you, Sunday night game, blah, 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 lack of preparation time and all that. That's what really worries me, man. These NFL teams find ways to win at least 1 or 2 games every year.
Right.
Yeah, the Cowboys are on Eastern Conference time. So, taking them out of water, they're playing at 10 in the morning, which is 8 o'clock in the morning back home. That stuff all matters, right? And you're battling a cornered animal right now. Nothing more dangerous than a cornered animal. At 0-4, all they're playing for is pride. They know it. They know they're not going to do shit this year.
Correct.
So this is like we can make a big splash in the media. We can get a whole lot of attention, be all over First Take, be all over FS1 tomorrow morning.
100%.
All the talking heads will be talking about all we got to do is go out there and beat them one good time.
No, beat
that will
Dallas.
Be their motivation.
Yeah,
beat Dallas one good time.
Because again, let's put that in context. I'm glad you said that, Zen. Let's put that in context. I'm really glad you brought that up. They're cornered. Absolutely right. But if this is the visiting Cardinals and they get that win, it's a nice storyline. It's a nice storyline. If they win this game today, it's the lead story on every talking head show for at least through Thursday.
Yep.
No question. No question. So
and Jerry Jones' ass gets skewered again because nobody's looking to anybody but Jerry Jones for leadership in the Cowboys. Schottenheimer's a new head coach. Nobody's tripping off of him just yet.
No.
Everybody knows Jerry's the de facto GM. So it will all fall back on, hey, man, maybe you should retire and let Steven run the franchise, or let an actual GM do the job. Because this Micah Parsons, the fallout from Micah Parsons is that you don't have a pass rush. That's just the bottom line, and your defense is suffering week after week because of that. And yeah, they tied Green Bay, and that must have felt good. Another moral victory, as Cliff would like to say.
Yep.
But man, they got to win today, or it's over for the Cowboys. I'll put it that way. You can't beat the Jets, even with your offensive lineman missing. It's over for y'all. And that's a hard thing to say.
Well, I don't know if it's that hard, Zen, to be perfectly honest with you, because I let in with this is a must win. Yeah. I don't care if they were fully healthy, win the game. You've got to get, because right now the reality of the situation is, despite all these great efforts, despite because they don't have a moral victory column in these standings. They don't.
Not at all.
There's wins, losses, and the rare tie. And we've already seen the rarity of the tie, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's no MV column.
And you've already been in 2 overtime games this season.
Right. And you have to fight your ass off to get to those. One, you barely won because you had almost a superhuman kicker to get you to that overtime. And then, we saw what it was last week, where your defense could not make a play after your quarterback kept putting you in a position to stand up and help them win that game. So this is, going back to say the must win, when you say it's hard to say, I think it's pretty easy to say, to be honest with you, Zen. They got to win this game, and I don't give a damn how ugly it is or what have you. And if you got to pull out the double reverse 23 skidoo, whatever you got to do, win the game, because the bottom line is you got one in the W column going into this deal. One, we're in week 5, and you got one win that you got to win a game, because as we've seen, all of a sudden you exhale twice, and now you're, instead of going into week 5, now you're in week 10, and you're going to be sitting at 3 or 4 wins. So because you didn't bank wins when you could get them early in the season, no, you got to get this one by hook or by crook. And as much as we've seen and expected of QB1, and how, to JC's very, very apropos description, heroic he's been, because that's a damn good description he's been. And think about this. He's been heroic with his efforts, and very accurate description, and it's produced one win. Now, it's a team thing, but as heroic as he has been, it's been torpedoed by an absolute shitstorm of a defensive effort. So somehow they have got to find it. And this is what I said last week. I'm going to say it again here. This is what the coaches get their big checks for. You've got to figure out a way to get Manny, Mo, and Jack that you're putting on your offensive line this week. You got to figure out a way to motivate these boys for these 60 minutes they walk out there. Mm-hmm. You got to look at QB1 and give that affirmative nod. Hey, man, run your huddle, run your team, do what you've been doing. Everybody else, whoever suits up, whoever runs their ass out there on the snap, I got to have it. I've got to have it. But you cannot leave New Jersey, get on that plane this afternoon.
If you're open, I'll find you, lads.
Not having won this game. You cannot do it. You cannot do it. And I'm afraid, I'm telling you here and right now, I'm nervous as hell about them dropping this game. 100%.
I hear you, man.
I will find you if you're open, boys. He's got to be that guy, man. For the love of Christ, boy, give me just another half second. I will find you if you're open, lads. For the love of Christ, we've got to keep playing.
I love it.
That's what it's going to take, man. And that's really cool, man. Like with all we were talking in the pre-show about how there were 5 block kicks last week, literally within a minute of each other, and all these games going on, the early games going on simultaneously. You got these 40 to 37 shootouts, over at AT&T, and it really is. It's good for the game. The unpredictability is actually good for the game. because it makes for all of these exciting moments. We've talked about how you get these massive quick change turnarounds in college, where it's essentially never over. To whereas now we're seeing a lot of that stuff in the NFL, and I think it's because of a lack of continuity, injuries, okay? And the fact that, as I said, that these quarterbacks now are starting to play in offenses where, man, they just shred zone defenses. They just absolutely shred them, so you got to be able to mix the coverages in that, man. It's a changing NFL. It's changing, and it's always evolving, copycat league and all that stuff. But we come back to what we always come back to. Man, come on and run it. Come on and run it. Be committed to it. And the Jets have a tremendous front seven. Quentin Williams was one of the three or four best tackles in the league.
Yes.
Probably the best player on their team, either him or Sauce. And so they need to stay with it. Stay with it. Pick their spots. And Dak's got to be heroic. He's got to go out today and kill some English.
And then can I throw this in real quick? As far as the concern of this O-line situation, and we've talked early and often about QB1 and his importance, can't be overstated. Guess what else is important? Winning the game is the ultimate is the ultimate objective, right? You know what else is a big time objective coming in and out of this game? Let's hope that QB1 is upright when they leave the Meadowlands.
Oh man. No, let's not even. Oh, I'm so sorry you put that out in the ether, bro. Woo! I wish you wouldn't have said nothing about that. I'm not even superstitious, but it seems like every time somebody puts something like that out in the ether, it just happens.
Well, even if him running for his life, which he could be, and just get out of health. But I worry about this every week.
I understand your trauma. I
understand it every week with him because of now you talking about a scenario that I said it when the season started, bro. QB1 has to play 16 or 17 games. He has to play all of them. He's got to play at least 16 because the alternative is not what that is. For all the people that were Cooper Rush bastards, I wish he was here right now, just on the just in case blast. Because man, I'm telling you. So again, they've got to find it. The guys who get the checks, they have the coaches parking spots. They gotta do their work today. They've got to find. I hope they've done their work in prep this week. They got to keep these boys' minds right. In the 60-minute battle today, and they those boys up front have to do massive work today to keep the franchise up in his ability to do his thing because it's just that imperative. And it goes back to the objective. We have to find a way to win the game, and the best way to win that game is to make sure QB1 is out there doing his thing.
Joey Flosa, your predictions for today, score-wise, outcome, what you got?
I've got a bad feeling about it.
That's a very
deja vu all over again, right? I just have a really bad feeling about the game today. It was kind of like, for different reasons, kind of like that Texas-Florida game yesterday. And that was ugly. Yeah, man, it was a one-play game at the end, but Florida whipped their ass up and down the field.
They did.
And I'm anticipating something along the lines of 21-13 Jets and it not even being that close. I wish I felt differently, but it's the Jets. It's just a perfect flop game. And I agree with you guys. It's a must-win game. Got to win these next three, man. You can't get ahead of yourself, but you got to win these next three. Okay? Take care of business this week and next week. You got the Commodes, the Commodores at home. Okay? And the Cowboys are seemingly a different football team at home, a better football team, at least in terms of offense, give you a fighting shot. Because you're going to run that gauntlet. And I don't just put it as a team gauntlet. It's, Denver's been a house of horrors. For whatever reason, Arizona's had their number. It's just inexplicable. So they got to split those three 3-1 the rest of the way, 10-6-1 gets you in. At this particular point in time, at press time, hope still reigns supreme that they can get it done. So that's what you're looking at. That's what has to happen. I hope I'm wrong. I know I've been wrong many times before. I'm sure I will be again. But I'm saying just a really, as DB said, weird, ugly, whack 21-13 Jets win.
21-13 Jets win, boy. I don't know about that, but we'll hear from D. Brown.
Man, so, yeah.
Or is that a rain dance? Is that juju I'm doing?
Oh, man, that maybe. Man, so, yeah, the weirdness, yeah, this game really, the setup of this game, for all the reasons that Joey just said, really, really bothers me. I'm going to, this is the spin I'm putting on it, Zen. With all of its ugliness. And we're all everybody on the panel, we're avid sports fans, right? We watch, this NFL game, NBA, Major League Baseball, what have you. Every matchup, I mean, every game comes down to matchups, and this is what I'm nervous about. If you had a middle rung player, that this replacement line that you're going into this game with is dealing with, that's one thing. But like Joey just said, man, Quentin Williams is a problem. He is a game plan wrecking problem. So it'll be real interesting to see how that matchup holds up, because if he crashes the middle of that line, particularly with their commitment to want to run the football, and they can't, and they're forced for whatever reason to have to drop back, there's that deal. Having said that, with all of the ugliness, I think this is one of those games because you have a vet who's the better quarterback, and this is the saving grace, in my opinion. I think it comes back to the fact that you got the better quarterback of the deal. And as long as I've been watching football, even when you have poor matchups, even when you have, just a bad optic going into it, a lot of times it comes down to the better quarterback, usually, not totally, but usually finding a way to will his team. It's the separator from the good and the elite, right? Dak's played on an elite level. He's had elite level stuff in him. I think it's very, very, very safe to say that Dak is clearly the better quarterback of the two quarterbacks in today's game. And I think this is one of those games that will add to his MVP consideration. I didn't really weigh in on that, but I think it's great he's getting at least the mention, but I just don't think the team success will quite be there. I just don't think it's really set up for that unless they go on some ridiculous run to finish in double-digit wins. But that said, I think Dak finds a way to make enough plays, and I'm gonna use the word judiciously there, enough plays to leave it and get them to the point where you've got your superstar kicker to go in, put them in the position. He makes just enough of a play to put them in a position where Brandon Aubrey walks out there and they win this thing, getting on the plane with that pass me that whiskey type of feeling, and they walk off with I'm gonna go with Dallas 23-20. Dallas survives barely on the leg of the great Brandon Aubrey, and I think he's going to hit it from 50 plus. And they walk out there with the game because of a play that Dak Prescott made to get him in a position to walk off with another one. And they survive just enough to get one more tick in the W column and get back on that plane 2-2-1. Nail biter away.
D. Brown stole
24-hour rule.
D. Brown stole all my thunder. I ain't gonna lie. Stole it all.
Oh man, my bad.
Because I also believe that the Dallas Cowboys will win this game. And I also believe that is on the strength of having a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback versus the quarterback from Ohio State, who is probably right now among the worst starters in the NFL. So I believe this will be a game of field position, which usually comes down to special teams, quarterback play, and obviously your kicker advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game because of the offensive line on Dallas's side being missing. So I'm also looking at a low-scoring affair, but I'm going to say 17-13, and it's not close. I think New York is going to play from behind the whole time.
Interesting. Okay. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
But hold me to it. Hold me to it.
I mean, accountability is what we do, man. Hey,
if it was a horrible take, my ass goes on blast this week.
Hey, man. Hey, we welcome that. We welcome that smoke. But
that's how it goes, right?
I'm with. Oh yeah, that's part of it, man. You put yourself out here. Hey, we having fun with it, but it's good stuff. I would love to see them playing from behind. That would be the ideal situation. My fear is because, and I'm only going on what we've seen subjectively, but my fear is that because we've seen it consistently, unfortunately, there will be a bust in coverage somewhere. And they will make a play that either tilts field or they give up a play that yields a touchdown, and, that gives them kind of what we talked about before the Bears game, that confidence. They make a play, they hit a couple of big ones, they score, and now they're feeling like world beaters.
Well, him and Garrett Wilson are clicking. That's happening.
Correct. And then you got a big play guy. You got a big play guy on both sides of the ball that can really affect what Dallas is doing or trying to prevent from happening.
Yeah.
So, and Quentin Williams on the defensive side, Wilson, because he's the one guy that can actually make Fields look competent, right? And against the defense that kind of serves up those opportunities to make plays. We've already seen that. So that's the fear. That's why I'm hoping this is the coach's best outing to date for the Cowboys. That's the way I'll encapsulate that. I think the coaches, out of necessity, have to dial it up on both sides of the ball. They've got to, these position guys, these coordinators, they have to dial up their best work. And it's really weird to say that against the Jets team, but that's just where they find themselves, and they got to figure it out.
Last topic of the day, real quick, fellas. We have a comment from you guys' media network, Hoop Jargon Media Network, who also gave us a $1.99 super chat. Nice. We want to thank Hoop for that. But he asks, your grades for the first 4 games for the Dallas Cowboys.
Letter grades?
Letter grades.
You cannot.
B+?
Absolutely cannot. Yeah. I would go C-, actually, because at the end of the day, and the only reason you've got that is because of the unbelievable play of your quarterback. Were that, it would be a D-. You can't go anything because C denotes average. And I would go on the bottom end of that average simply because you've only gotten one win. And it's a results-oriented thing, right? So a little less than average, right? And again, that's only based upon the extraordinary play of your quarterback. Were it not, then this thing would be as close to an F as possible had you not have your quarterback playing his ass off. That's it. That and a surprisingly good run game. But other than that, that defense torpedoed everything good about it.
JC?
I think C+, and I think that's better than their record indicates. I think they're better than their record indicates, believe it or not. It's just been weird, to say the least. And I expect the weirdness to continue today.
Yep.
I agree with JC. C+, I think they're better than the record indicates. You had the Green Bay Packers last week. That was, again, noted to be one of the better teams in the NFC, probably the team most people think will win the NFC. You got to take all that into consideration. Prescott's playing the best he's ever played. The Cowboys are going to get healthier. I don't underestimate them. I think they can actually compete in the NFC this season, provided they start winning today. If they can't beat the Jets, we got big problems as far as Dallas is concerned, and we'll have to have a different conversation next week. But fellas, it's been wonderful as usual. You guys are professionals. I want to again thank Hoop Jargon Media Network for all of his support. We're doing this together, although today we are only on my channel. Make sure you go to Hoop Jargon YouTube channel and subscribe over there. Do you guys have social medias or other outlets that you want to plug before we get out of here?
I do not.
Joey?
I mean, you can catch me, Joey Flosa, on Facebook while I'll be, complaining about Texas or Cowboy football, I'm sure. But hey, Zen, big ups, man. Mavericks hat. That's right around the corner, man.
And y'all can find me at dbrown214 on Instagram.
Big ups.
Hey, I got the Mavs 2 in the West this year. That's what I think of y'all.
I'm right there with you, brother.
All right, so
Right
we'll
there
talk.
with you.
We're gonna talk some hoops. Believe that. I'll be on Hoop Jargon with y'all. But trust me.
Right on.
Fellas, thank you for your effort and your time today. This has been Straight No Chaser. I am Zen Master with Joey Flosa, D Brown. We will see y'all on the next go round. Salute the game gang. Peace.
That was awesome.